All right, I call the Kitty Hawk Town Council to order this Tuesday, September 5, 2017, at Kitty Hawk Town Hall. It is now 6 p.m. We appreciate everybody who's in attendance and those who will tune in later. It's important that you know what we're trying to do anyway. Would you join us with a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next, we have approval of the agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda, Mr. Mayor.
Do I hear a second? All right, we have a second. Any further comments? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, it's approved. Now we have, huh? Oh, I thought you asked me a question. Now we have public comment. This public comment is different from the public hearing, but you can speak at either one. It's up to you. Do we have anyone signed up?
Yes.
All right. Does anyone wish to speak at the public comment? We have one before and one after. All right? Let the record show no one came.
We had,
This
Oh,
gentleman
we
raised
do.
his hand.
Who? You can speak at the hearing there, or you can say something now. It's your choice. Okay, then please come on up. You don't want to stay for us through this whole thing? I'm shocked.
You're doing such a good job, I don't have to worry about it.
This keeps you from being sworn in too, by the way, and for those that might speak at the public hearing, the law requires certain public hearings to require each person that wants to speak to be sworn in. We do not want to inhibit you from doing that. That's the law making us say that. We want to hear from you, so, don't be afraid just because they're swearing you in. Yes, sir.
This is on the subdivision variance on 4100 Black Lindbergh Avenue.
Could you state your name, please?
I'm sorry?
Could you tell us your name, please?
My name's Bill Pope,
Thank you.
4108 Lindbergh. I'm kind of cat corner across the street. I'm not against the redistribution there, but I think when you redistribute this in the back, the 150 comes right up to the hotel. There'll be no parking for the hotel. So I think that it would make more sense, the whole parcel is to redistribute the whole parcel into 6, and that's what I think they were talking about doing anyway, and then take the hotel down. If you go the 3 that they're talking about, when they build the houses, they're going to be right up next to the hotel. And if the hotel closes, who's going to take care of the hotel? Why not take it down? And then that gives you the three in the front, and that gives you 6 lots. That's all I got to say.
All right, sir. Thank you. We'll consider that. All right. I did not see his hand. I thank you all for pointing that out. Does anyone else want to speak at this public hearing? All right, now let the record show no one came forward. Okay, next, consent agenda. Are there any changes to the consent agenda? And if not, do I hear a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
All right. We didn't have anything removed, so now we go directly into a public hearing on what the gentleman was talking about. And this, again, requires swearing in, but don't let that inhibit you from speaking. I now motion to go into public hearing on the subdivision variance at 4100 block of Lindbergh Avenue. Do I hear a second to that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're now in public hearing. Rob? If you folks would like to sit down until he finishes, he'll take a few minutes.
All right, so this application is for a subdivision variance, which don't seem to come forward too often. I think this is the first one since 2005, which was done on the same property. And just to clarify, most variances go through the Board of Adjustment, but as the subdivision ordinance is separate from the zoning ordinance, it's written in that the subdivision variances come through the planning board for recommendation to town council for the decision. For this specific one, the applicant has requested a variance from section 38-105B1, which establishes the minimum lot size of the zoning district be met. The lots in question here are located within the General Beach Commercial BC1 district. Single-family residences are permitted in the BC1 district as an administrative conditional use, but they have to be built to the BR1 dimension requirements, which sets the minimum lot size as 15,000 square feet. The proposed variance would allow the creation of one new buildable lot at 7,500 square feet in area, and be reconfiguring the two existing 7,500 square foot lots from 75 by 100 back to the original configuration of 50 by 150. Additionally, the proposal seeks a variance from section 38-105B4, the minimum lot width. The ordinance requires a minimum lot width of 75 feet measured at the front setback and no less than 50 feet of road frontage. This proposed variance would allow for the lots to have 50 feet of road frontage and a total width of 50 feet rather than the 75 at the building setback. And just as a little background of this one, originally these lots were configured how you typically see at the beach. They were all, or in between the highways. There was 3 lots fronting North Virginia Dare Trail that were 50 by 150, and 3 lots that fronted Lindbergh that were all 50 by 150. In 2005, a subdivision variance was granted at that time to create the 2 lots that currently front Lindbergh, which are each 75 by 100. And in doing so, the main portion was never recombined. So now it sits with the 2 75 by 100 lots, 3 50 by 150 lots fronting North Virginia Dare Trail, and then there's 3 leftover lots that are all 50 by 50. They're landlocked, inaccessible without easements from either Lindbergh or North Virginia Dare Trail. I do want to point out that approval of the subdivision variance would not actually subdivide these lots or reconfigure the lots. It would be putting in place, I guess, the mechanism that would allow the owners to do a subdivision and plat it as they're proposed to do. As you can see, this is the existing conditions. What they would like to do is vacate these 3 lot lines and this one in the middle just to revert back to the original lot configuration of 50 by 150. And the one concern we did have brought up in the comment section about the motel is that before the subdivision plat could actually be approved, there'd be items that would need to be addressed on the site itself. Mainly those 3 50 by 50 lots are currently used as parking for the motel. So if those lots were to be used for anything other than that parking, the motel would not meet its minimum parking requirements and create a zoning violation. So as a requirement, before these lots could actually be platted, we would set a requirement that the motel would be brought down at that point, so we could avoid running into that situation. And then once that could be taken care of, then the subdivision plat could be carried down and recorded as an exempt subdivision, because it wouldn't be necessarily creating any new lots, it would be reconfiguring the existing lot lines that are there now. At the August 17th, 2017 planning board meeting, they unanimously recommended approval of the subdivision variance application. That wraps up my presentation. I believe the owners had a brief PowerPoint they wanted to go through for you.
Good evening. My name's Beth Carey, and my brother Kurt Versharon and I are here tonight to talk to you all. And I ask that you forgive us if we're repeating some of what Rob already said, because he did a great job summarizing. But we're here kind of to tell our story as a family that has been a business owner and be coming to the Outer Banks since we were very, very small.
Over 4 decades.
Yeah, over 4 decades. So if I repeat it, please just bear with me. Our story on the Beach Haven and the lots we're talking about tonight started in 1987 when our parents, Joe and Janet Versharon, purchased the 6 lots, as Rob was describing. Back then, when they bought it, it was known as the Carr Cottages, and I'm not trying to point out anyone that has maybe been around longer than I have, but you might remember the Carr Cottages if you have. They bought the 6 lots, each of which, as Rob said, was a 50 by 150 configuration, and continued to operate and redo the motel. And this is the original plat, and you can see the buildings and where they're existing, basically on the front 2 lots of the south side, and then the back lots remained empty. This is very consistent, as you know, of that neighborhood on both sides. And what then proceeded to happen is we turned this property into the Beach Haven Motel, and there's probably many of you that are familiar with it, as it has been in operation for close to 30 years now. The motel, the 6 units, sits on lots 35, 36, 37, and the configuration of lots 60 to 62 have been where our parking lot has laid, giving us some very odd non-conforming lots. And as Rob said, the back lots then on Lindbergh are 2 lots that at that point my father had plans to develop into cottages or just sell them to other people. Unfortunately, we lost Dad to cancer in 2007, and since then the family has tried to carry on the tradition. Beach Haven has a 4.5-star rating. We have 50% of our people that continue to come back, and we're constantly converting people to become OBX lovers and Kitty Hawk lovers. But after 10 years of trying to carry on Dad's legacy, the family, who all lives out of state, is just coming to you tonight with heavy hearts with the idea that we need to sell this property. And so we asked ourselves, knowing Kitty Hawk and doing some research, what is in the best interest of the town and what's also in our best interest as we try and carry on my dad's wishes for this investment in our family. So we've come to you tonight to return the lots with this odd configuration back to the original 6 lots, all of equal size. And then we figure there will be 4 basic benefits. Benefit number 1, we've tried to sell the motel as is for 10 years off and on. It's a hard sell because, as you well know, the sand's more valuable than a small motel would ever generate. So it's been very hard for us to sell it as is. We also know that if we go back to the 6 lots, the town's going to benefit from an increased tax basis because you're going to have another lot back there. So that's benefiting the town. And most importantly, I think we are looking for options for future buyers, because someone is going to have a vision maybe better than what our vision has been. So we're asking for a variance. We don't intend to redeed the property at this point. We would just like, as we go forward in selling the land between the Beach Road and Lindbergh, that future buyers have options of a configuration, not a landlocked, ununiform area. And we'll see what somebody else wants to do with this property going forward. And we will also then, as a family, finally leave the Outer Banks, except for true vacationers, I guess, and we will continue to come back and visit and have my dad's wishes of leaving this life's work to his family. And if you have any questions, Kurt, do you have anything you want to add? I might
I
forget?
do just want to comment that we, as a family, have all decided, hopefully with this variance, in everyone's favor, that the Beach Haven Motel is going to close Columbus Day weekend this year, and it's not going to reopen.
Under our
Under our
watch.
ownership,
Right. So, and that's all I've got.
Council members, if you have questions, this is the time to answer them. Anybody?
That's pretty.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate hearing from you. Rob, I have a couple of questions. As far as returning this, well, first off, I had asked you for some history about when the 15,000 square foot came into existence.
Right.
Because I really didn't know, and I was very surprised to learn what I did. Would you relay that for the consumption of the public that'll be listening and hearing us at a
Right.
later time, please?
So after doing some research that Lynn helped me with as well, looking through some old minutes, it turned out that the 15,000 square foot minimum lot size was the original size that was set in 1986 when the town first adopted the zoning ordinance. At that time, from what I've been told, the town kind of just mirrored what Dare County had in their ordinance for their minimum lot size, which at the time was 15,000 square feet. The lots that we're looking at over on Lindbergh in that area, they were all platted in between 1945 and 46 at 7,500 square feet. The one time I was able to find that the minimum lot size was discussed after that was in 2004, when we included language into the ordinance saying that it had to be 15,000 square feet of uplands area, that it couldn't include the CAMA or CRC wetlands in that calculation. So that's kind of how we came to be with the 15,000 square foot minimum.
Okay, and I tell you, I was surprised that it went that far back. I did not, I thought it was a more recent change to 15,000 square feet. I didn't know it changed when it did. And I think it changed about the time, Irvin, that Central Water, City Water as we call it, came into being back in the 70s. Does that make sense?
Don't know, it
Well-
doesn't make sense to me.
In any event, I was surprised at how long it had been in force, so.
I think in reading through Dare County's zoning ordinance, it looked like it was, I think it was 74 or 75,
And
that they changed it to
That's about
15,000.
when they started putting water on the beach, is what it amounts to. All right, another question I have is grandfathering for these lots as they're laid out and want to be laid out really doesn't apply anymore since there's already been one variance granted. Is that correct?
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So grandfathering no longer applies. This would have to be an out-and-out new deal.
And,
Right.
and the standard, there is a standard, which you guys will need to consider tonight. Board of Adjustments is typically set out for, variances based on certain criteria, hardship, whether the applicant created the hardship or not. Those criteria are not in front of you guys tonight. In researching this matter, Rob and I came to the conclusion that it would be more appropriate to bring in front of town council this particular variance because the variance that resulted in the unorthodox arrangement that they're currently set on was done by town council. So we figured, keeping with the trend, this was a matter that town council took under consideration many years ago. Sticking with town council is the best way to approach this particular variance. The standard's very simple for you guys, though. It's what's in the best interest of the town. That's what's written in there, and that's the decision that it will be based on. And Mayor, yes, you're correct. because of that variance, grandfathering does not apply to
Okay.
this scenario.
And the 6 lots as they are, that they were laid out in 45 or 46, I was 3 years old, by the way, so that's a long time ago. There's nothing to say that if one variance has been done and a second variance was done, yet another variance to combine the whole lot and make something really big could not be done. Is that also true?
Yeah, I mean, there'd be.
I mean,
nothing
there's
to
other
stop anybody.
possibilities besides this.
Right, there'd be nothing to stop anyone from applying for something down the road. I don't think approving one necessarily sets a precedent for something further down. Although I think if somebody further down the road wanted to combine all of those, I don't think they would need a variance for that because it would then meet the minimum lot size and the width requirements and all that.
Gotcha. All right. Okay. Council, anybody have any questions? No?
I don't.
No, sir.
Okay, I have some thoughts, but I'm not hearing from you folks, so I don't know whether to proceed.
Are all of the lots owned by the family right now?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Go ahead.
According to the lawyer, we have to base our decision on what's the best interest of the town?
A whole lot of discretion in this particular matter.
In this
Best-
matter,
Best
that-
interest of the town is the standard by which you guys should base your decision on.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right.
One more question. And you folks say you're going to close the operation of the motel effective October 12th?
Yes.
And what are your plans for the motel on October 15th?
Well, we're always open just for the season, and we always close for the winter months. We will be putting it on the market and hopefully finding a buyer over the winter months. And, you know, whether someone wants to come in and buy just the front 3 lots or the back 3 lots, or, you know, a developer wants to come in, because it is, you know, it is BC1 zone. So there's a lot of options for a future buyer. Our goal would be to sell road to road. We would like to sell all 6 lots. I guess there is a possibility that someone would come in and, you know, I was just talking to a lady last week who would love to buy Beach Haven. She just can't find the finance because, again, the sand is more valuable than the revenue generated in a small motel. So, you know, there could be a buyer out there, we just haven't found. So we will, we will not let it sit vacant for an unending period of time. If we need to, we will take it down. That will be very hard as a family to do. But if that's what it comes to, if it doesn't sell as is and someone comes in and says, okay, we're gonna buy it and we're gonna wreck it down, and we'll be like, okay, I don't have to watch that, you know? So that would be, Kurt, you got any?
No, that's, yeah, if our realtor is a commercial realtor that we intend to work with, we're gonna give him a certain length of time, whether it be 6 months or 12 months, to sell it as one complete unit, all 6 lots, in which case the new developer who already has dump trucks and bulldozers can come and take the buildings away. If not, at that point, we'll take the buildings away, and then we will have 6 vacant lots to sell individually as we can find buyers.
Okay, one more couple.
Sure.
The variance that created the unbuildable lots was to give parking to the motel.
That it is my understanding, and of course, it's my understanding, the parking could potentially be done on the north driveway, on that side. My father had an aesthetic issue. He doesn't like people parking in front of motel rooms. He doesn't think that that looks nice. So instead, he planted grass out there and shrubbery and wanted everyone to park in the back. So that's what he did, and he has an in driveway and an out driveway. And that's how the parking lot came into existence. So in 2005, he said, you know, I should make this part of the Beach Haven, which gave us these weird middle lots, three baby, we call them the baby lots, configuration. And I personally don't know what the requirements would be to have parking on the north driveway and just have an in and out. I can't answer that.
Rob, let me ask you this. So, we grant the variance, in essence, the hotel is gone anyway. I mean, they could not operate the hotel once we grant the variance because they haven't got the parking.
Well, once the lots are actually subdivided, granting the variance will just, like I mentioned, will just
Enable
put
them to do
the
that.
mechanism in place to subdivide later. What we do tonight won't actually reconfigure any of the lots.
Yeah.
It'll just be the council getting the permission to move.
But in order for them to reconfigure it into 6 lots, then they're either going to have to come forward and show that they have adequate parking, or the motel's going to come non-compliant. Is that what you said earlier?
Well, even beyond the parking, I think the motel would have to come down before it can be platted, because even if they, can figure out parking on the north end, this building is then in violation of the setbacks.
Okay.
It's too close to the rear of the lot, so,
That was the
And
other
at that
question.
point, we would redeed. Right now, we just want the option for our realtor to, offer it as 6 lots to give a little more variety and not have that non-conforming, the middle lots, which are landlocked from fire. Because we even said, well, maybe we could build something on there, and, someone would want to build on there, but it brings its own set of nightmares from that standpoint.
And Rob, from what you just said, we could very easily see this again in the future from another owner requesting another variance.
right, I mean, we could see it from another owner in this area or another property owner anywhere in town. The way it's written in the ordinance is, where because of topographical or other conditions peculiar to the site, strict adherence to the provisions of the regulations of this chapter would cause unnecessary hardship, or it appears that the interests of the town would not be best served, you can grant the variance. Casey and I were actually discussing after the planning board meeting too, that because of the previous variance that was granted that created those 3 leftovers, it kind of creates a peculiar situation in itself that we're not gonna see with other ones that might come up in the future. If somebody is just trying to create a lot that's smaller than the regulations because they think they can, fit another house on, if you want to, you can even look back at this one and say, well, it's not the same because this was reverting it back to what it was originally platted as. It's not just creating something new out of the blue.
This is the observation. The attorney gave us the direction to do what's in the best interest of the town.
And I'm prepared to make a motion.
Do we have more
Wanna hear
people
it? Go for
to
it.
speak at the public hearing?
I'm sorry?
Don't we have more people that might be speaking at the public hearing?
Do we? Does anyone else want to speak at this part of the public hearing? If not, we're going out, and once we go out, we discuss among ourselves anything that is not a question, basically, and make a decision. If no one else comes forward, let the record show so. All right, I motion to go back into regular session.
So moved.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, I'm prepared to make a motion. Does anyone have any other discussion before I do so?
I just have one quick question for the attorney.
All right,
This variance, does it have an expiration date, or can this happen, the reconfiguring of everything happen at any time in the future?
The option to recombine, would it expire? Not to my knowledge, no. This
Okay,
would
and-
be something that would be ongoing until the change in the use of the lot or something of that nature necessitated the
And the-
actual
and the
recombination,
variance
the
is to-
plat.
And the variance is to put it only in the configuration of 6 lots?
The original
Or is the variance to
configuration.
do whatever you please with it?
The original configuration of those 6 lots. When it was originally platted, you would be giving the applicant the right to plat again and revert back to the original subdivision
But
plat.
the variance is only to the original,
Yes,
okay.
correct.
yes, ma'am.
And once something else is done, the variance is gone?
By something else. I want to make sure I'm not giving the wrong advice. By something else.
Well, if somebody does come in and buy the whole shebang, and it never gets divided into six lots, it becomes one. At that point in time, the variance is null and void.
Correct, I would suppose,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely, yes. I would think that if a different, if it's subdivided legally, in other words, Rob was referring to that earlier, if they turned it into one shebang and didn't require any approval from town council, then that would be a change. So they would have to come back if they wanted to do something different. I would agree with that, absolutely.
All right.
My turn?
Yes, sir?
All right. I move to deny the proposed subdivision variance. Town council finds that allowing the variance would not be in the best interest of the town and that we should not be regressing backwards, but rather forward, consistent with the land use plan that represents citizens' desire for low-density development within town. Does that have a second?
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
So, I'm confused about trying to do what the lawyer advises, and so I'm just trying to figure out why that this wouldn't be in the best interest of the town is my reason.
Because you're turning lots from 7,500 square feet, from 15,000 square feet into 7,500 square feet. That has been set in motion since after 1945. I mean, since after, that's right.
The 15 was, what that was platted in the 86 is when 15,000 came in, but these things were platted back in 40s. That's correct.
Let's see, Dare County zoning ordinance was adopted in 1975, not 1945, 1975.
Okay.
Right. It dictates family lots served by central water supply and on-site septic has a minimum lot size of 15,000 square feet. The town in 1986, when it did its first rezoning after 1981 incorporation, it adopted 15,000 square feet. So basically, what we're saying is, at 15,000 square feet, we're following the town code that's been set basically since 1975. If we do anything less than that, then we are reverting backwards to what the lots were platted in 1945, 46. That's the bottom line. So is it in the best interest? And my thoughts are it's in the best interest of the town not to go backwards to make smaller lots. The citizens obviously don't want that. They've told us that time and time again. The land use plan also dictates lower density. That's what prompted me to make this motion. That, to me, is in the best interest of the town and consistent with what the citizens have this part, up to this point, told us they want us to do, low density. That's not low density. The argument that it gives us an extra lot, therefore increases tax base, that's a false, a hollow argument. If government is so greedy, if the insatiable demand for revenue is so great that we've got to revert back just to get more tax base, there's something wrong with that. I don't accept that. We do it on the best interest of the town, following the rules that are in existence at the time. And unless the people of this town tell us they want higher density, taller buildings, if they tell us that, I'll go there. But they haven't told us that. And until they do, I won't go there. That's the purpose for the motion and the reason I feel it's in the best interest of the town. All right.
Rob, how many lots adjoin those?
We're out of the public hearing. We're not supposed to be asking questions. Is that correct?
That's correct.
If I allow that to happen,
We'd
then
have to
we're-
go back in. We'd have to.
we'd have to go back into public hearing. All right? Is it important enough to do that? I don't want us to get into a legal morass
No,
here.
no, no, and I appreciate I'm just trying to, once again, I was going completely the other direction, and I love you to death for bringing this up the way you did, because it makes us think, and it's what makes rationale work, all the thinking. There are a lot of lots that are just like what these people are trying to go back and do now in that same area. Am I correct?
I'm thinking.
Yeah, there are, I just pulled the plat. I'm
Looks
looking
like
at
to
the
me
plat.
they are.
There's
Looks
all
like
the lots-
every single one of them were
Yeah,
that.
so they're all the same thing. I can make the argument that what we're doing, we're taking, and we're creating 6 lots to build 6 houses on, possibly, or for someone to come in there and buy the whole piece of property up and do a nice development. So that can be construed as being in the best interest of the town also. Although I buy your argument, and it's a good one. I mean, it's a spin that I never even thought above.
Yeah.
Going that direction, and that's why I say I love you to death for it. I disagree with that, though,
Okay.
and just humbly disagree with it.
If the motion doesn't have a second, then it dies for lack of second. Is that the case? All right, let the record, what?
I don't like the narrow lots. And I was uncomfortable about that, and I'll just say that, and
We got to make a decision,
I don't agree with your motion, respectfully.
okay? All right, last chance. I'm going to kill it if nobody makes a second. All right, let the record show the second, or the motion has died. Do we have a motion?
Okay, I'll make a motion, just for general conversation, so we can go to a conversation. I move to grant approval, proposed subdivision variance to allow the reconfiguration of subject parcels into 3 50 by 150 lots. Town council finds that the proposed use is consistent with the town's adopted Campbell land use plan and finds this to be in the town's best interest. The subdivision variance is in the best interest of the town because it will return a lot configuration to the typical lot layout and dimensions seen between the highways, and will remove 3 50 by 50 landlocked, unbuildable lots.
Second.
All right, got a motion and a second? Any further discussion?
Yeah, I'm just going to make it for the record. I'm not in any way out to reduce lot sizes to a lower lot coverage here. It just seems to me that, that every lot in that area was plotted for that size, and it's at the point where they did this, it seems like it's really kind of a goofy setup, and that it would actually put it more in line with all of the other ones on that whole stretch. But by no means am I willing to drop lot sizes. I think this is probably one of the only situations that we would probably only find this, and it does create a sense that we're letting somebody off with a littler lot than somebody else that's just bought a piece of land, and I hope that's not what people think when we're just. I think we're just trying to give the people here an option to use their property without the 3 pieces stuck in limbo here. And so I just wanted to, I'm not in any mean by allowing lower size lots, just this one situation, this variance right here.
Yeah, and I'll add to that, if it had been with every other lot, once again, I asked the question because I wanted to make sure in my mind I was justifiable in doing it. If the lots beside it were 100 by 250, I darn sure wouldn't want to decrease the lot size. But that's not the case in this thing. The whole character of the neighborhood is the same size of what they're trying to go back to already.
Good discussion, any more? All right, all in favor of the second motion?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, it's done. That was a very good discussion.
But thanks for bringing that up, Gary.
Well, I had to dig it out of you. It didn't come easy, I'll give you that. Lynn, let me give you this in case you need to add it to your thing. All right. The next thing we have is schedule a public hearing. Do I hear a motion for that?
Mr. Mayor, I move to set a public hearing at the Town Council meeting on October 2nd, 2017, to consider the proposed text amendment to amend subsections 42-616A and 42-247B3 regarding the occupation of motorhomes and travel trailers.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Take your pick. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. All right. Now, Mr. Town Manager, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the town council. Just have a couple reports. What you approved on your consent agenda was the finance report for the fiscal year 16-17, ending June 30th, 2017. Town's currently being audited under our financial audit, our annual financial audit for the financial statements, but I'm pleased to report that once again this year, all the departments were under the budget. I think you're going to be pleased when the financial audit does come out with the finances of the town. So everyone's to be commended at staying within their budget. The second item, just to, being that we're in a public meeting, just like to say that the beach nourishment project is going good. They're currently, at this time, pumping south of Balchin Street, and then they're going to switch to the Lillian Street subline at a later date in the project. The project is anticipated, hopefully, weather depending. I look to think they'll be done mid-September, I hope, in the next 2 to 3 weeks. I know they're looking to wrap this project up as well, and it's been, so far, it's been good. I know it's been a little bit inconvenient to some of the vacationers and homeowners, but they've done an excellent job at trying to accommodate those areas that are under construction on the beach. So for now, that's all the reports I have, and if you have any questions?
I agree. They have done an outstanding job of trying to appease the folks that were somewhat inconvenienced, and they've done an excellent job of keeping that inconvenience to a small area. And I think we're very lucky that this company got the bid. They have certainly put effort into it, and I know from attending the meetings and talking with the engineers that they're pushing to get this done as fast as they can for the same reasons we want them to get done as fast as they can. And hopefully those storms that are down there won't impact us, but I'd certainly like to have as much beach out there as I can if we get a storm. So we're lucky to have them, and I'm really looking forward. I know we all are closing that hole. All right. Anybody else? Comment to the manager?
No, sir.
All right. And by the way, I do appreciate staff staying under budget, doing what they need to do, and still serving the public in a really good fashion. So thank them for that.
Yeah,
And we'll try to use whatever savings there is in a really financially
Good way.
good way. You got it. All right. Town attorney.
I'd know to have my kids on the beach yesterday on that sandbar, man, it makes all the difference in the world. Went from not even wanting to put their toes in because the break, and then you got to drop off. Now they've got a little sandbar to play on, so it's super nice. It just increases their experience. So fantastic job, I agree. The company was the right company to go with. They are beach builders for
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah,
So,
they are. And-
they're fantastic. But no, I have nothing else. I just wanted to make that comment.
All right, normally it's town council, and I'd like to start this off because Chief Spivey, this will be his last meeting. He's volunteering. He's retiring 1st of October, so he'll not be with us another meeting. And I was given a little cheat sheet here to help me understand where he's been and what he's been doing in most of his life. In 81 to 84, he was a volunteer for the Kitty Hawk Volunteer Fire Department. 84 to 95, he was a volunteer to Duck Fire Department. Why did you abandon us, huh? You moved, all right. So anyway, in 85 through 87, he was a volunteer training officer for the Kitty Hawk Volunteer Fire Department. And notice I said volunteer because all this time it was volunteer. And then from 86 to 94, he was a paid full-time firefighter. He left us again for Nags Head. So in 94 until October of this year, he was the full-time fire chief for the Kitty Hawk. It's not volunteer, it's volunteer, partially paid, that sort of thing, and it's now a lot more of the both, to become the fire chief. He came to the fire department during a time of somewhat upheaval during the volunteer fire department as we had it at the time. And since then, he's straightened things out. We've got better ratings. We have a lot more first responders available to the citizens of the town, a lot more than you would have if it was strictly volunteer fire department. So I'd like for all of us to acknowledge that you've done a good job. We're going to miss you. And we won't see you, I guess, at any more meetings unless you want to come out. You're always welcome. All right, anybody else?
I'll just tag along with you there. Chief, want to thank you publicly here at this meeting for all you've done for the people of Kitty Hawk, myself, my family, and I'm sure it's not just mine, it's everybody. They're all your family, and I'm sure the people of Kitty Hawk's really going to miss you. You're going to be hard to replace. Thank you.
Lynn?
I'm going to be repeating what everyone else has said. Chief, it's been great, and don't forget where we are.
I'll say the same thing. I will tell you this, that having been the recipient of a visit from the fire department before, and I was in a wreck one time, and the chief was the first face I looked up and saw. He's done a great job and been a great friend, and served the town well, and I'm proud to know him, and the fire department's much, much better because of him.
We've got a great staff. I've said before, we've got a wonderful staff. I'd like to thank you all for what you do. I've got written here in my notes, Chief, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. The 21 years I've been in Kitty Hawk, you've been the only fire chief I've known. You've done a great job. You're a great friend, and we're going to miss you. And thank you.
All right. Last public hearing, or public comment. Anyone want to speak at this public comment after the meeting? Let the record show no one came forward. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right. Philip, you still got time to go to Southern Shore?